Firm believer that Web3 gaming is inevitable, please welcome to the skyscraper sculptor, the reaper of replies, the sovereign of the eighth continent from Eureka. It's Jordan. What's up, Jordan?
Yo, what's up, everyone? Building in public is not bullshit. That's my answer to this show. I'll see
Yeah.
you all next week.
Little foreshadowing for sure, for sure. But good to have you, Jordan. Thanks for the backup for me being able to host this as a guest. Would love it. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the mastermind merging legal brilliance with digital daring, the architect of Andromeda and the compliance czar with Securities and Exchange Commission. Passed as a lawyer who makes loopholes tremble in their boots. Welcome to the panel, the ace of Andromeda, the loose cannon of the law. It's Michael Christine. What's up, Tatted?
Hey, what's up, everybody? And I will say, Peyton, at first I was like, your voice sounds really weird. You're not Sam, but that makes a lot of sense. And also, I went to the gamified account looking for the Twitter space. It wasn't there. That's why I was late. So I'm gonna put that on Lems. I'm just kidding, Lems. I love you,
No,
brother.
definitely. Anything that is going wrong with the show, put it on me. Absolutely. We don't want Sam's brand or Lem's brand to take a hit because of me. All right. So definitely, that's gonna be all on me this time. But good to have you, man. I'm excited to get your take on the first topic, as you'll see here. This individual has forged a fascinating, formidable path, planting the seeds of Glitter Cloud Solutions, a consultancy crafted to catalyze and cultivate the very core of blockchain gaming. From sharpshooter to catalyst consultant, it's the king of killstreak, the ultimate hype man. It's Dub. Expecto Patronum, Dub, from this morning as well.
Save my name, baby. Fucking nothing like an
Always, dude.
intro from Harry Potter himself, dog. Fucking love to see it, dude. Glad to be here.
Oh, man. I love you, Dub. Thanks for being here, brother, and giving me some backup on this account. He dares to delve into the depths of taboo, forging narratives that blaze trails where others fear to tread. He's the mind behind my angry Yakuza girlfriend in Peking Duck Studios, a visionary who paints pixels with passion and ignites imaginations with incendiary ideas. Screw you, Sam, on this intro. He's also culinary commander, a master of the meats, grilling with the same veracity he brings to his game. He's a man of many talents, a titan and taste of taboo, a true Renaissance rebel. Welcome to the paddle from Meiji. It's Sinjin.
Hey guys, I've had like a crazy week with the markets and everything else like that and everything else. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay awake and participate with this show, but I'm here. And I'm going to man it out for as long as I can before I, uh, sissy out. All right, love you guys.
You sound like you didn't eat and then drank and then smoked a cigar, Sinjin. That's what you sound like right now. All right, this guy's got more hustle than a honey badger in a hot dog factory, a whirlwind of wit and wisdom, a veritable vegetable veteran of video games with his passion for Super Smash Bros. And Belantro. He's a stud business developer at Avalanche, and he's built like an ox, big enough to carry Web3 gaming on his back, which you might just have to do. He's the Sultan of Smash. It's Wills.
I'll take vegetable. I can be a vegetable today.
Yeah, you're
Thanks,
not a
thanks,
vegetable.
Peyton.
You're not a vegetable. It's just all of these like riddles that Sam has left me to do in terms of intros. Would love it. Real quick, Wills, what is your Super Smash Brother champion that you play with?
K Rule or Game and Watch.
No, wow, Game and Watch. That's surprising. All right, all right. Next up, we are going to be going for 30 years. This coding colossus has been crafting captivating worlds from the hells of Dungeon Siege to the sanctuaries of Solitaire. A game so popular it was inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame in 2019. Congratulations. He's a parallel pioneer in the top 30 on the ladder and a visionary who bridges the gap between classic craftsmanship and contemporary competition. He recently revealed his latest project in public with the Project O Invitational Tournament at the Wolves Den. It was such a blast. From Coin Games and Project O, it's Kevin Lambert.
What's up? What's up? I'm gonna have to get that coding colossus thing modified because I haven't written a line of code in 25 years, but it was my roots, so it's all good. Happy to be here with
Love it,
this
love it.
stacked panel as always. It's awesome.
It's always stacked. It's always stacked. He's the guy who turns complex chaos into clean, clear solutions. He's the rock star of reeling the unruly from esports pros to crypto bros. He's the Michael Jordan of clicking digital trees, becoming RuneScape royalty, and weighing in at 54 pixels. It's my co-host with the most. It's Knock.
One of my favorite things is making fun of Sam when he stumbles over the intros that he writes. But I want everybody for a second. We'll have to like leak what these boards look like. It is fucking terrifying when you're a guest host of Simplified or Gamified to look at the board, to read these introductions, to move your way through it. You're crushing it, Peyton. It's been a ton of fun so far. Looking forward to the panel that we've got here, and we've got a lot of really fucking fun topics, so should be a good one.
Yeah, I was joking with Knock and Lems before the show, and they were like, "Hey, we could probably flesh out this question a little bit more on the first question." I was like, "I'm going to be talking for 20 minutes for these intros and these ads. Can we please just make it as short as possible on the first one?" But that was a little inside joke that we had that I want to share with the class. But he is the slithering sensation from the splendid space of Lizard Labs, weighing in at 2.4 pounds. It's the lean green space hosting machine. A small scale star is set to stun, but put your claws together for the little lizard himself. Lambs. What up, Lambs?
GM is weird to be hearing you, Peyton, on that side, but hey, this is pretty good. It's fun to have a nice switch it up every now and then. And yeah, if anything goes wrong, totally blame Peyton. None of it's my fault whatsoever. I'm just gonna
100%.
play the blame game.
Easy to pass the buck whenever there's somebody else running the account, for sure. But if people are just tuning in right now, Sam is on vacation. He needs much needed rest after Wolves Den and launching Wolf. But we are excited to be here and taking over for him. And Sarah just needs to spend some time with him, for sure. But this show would not be possible without the amazing sponsors. So I just definitely need to be able to thank them. Get ready to howl with excitement as we welcome the Alpha, bringing the Blizzard of benefits with a flurry of fantastic games. It's Avalanche, the leader of blockchain Blizzard, the one and only official game of gamified. Wolf and the Wolves are en route to the chain, known for its frosty and formidable L1s, to dive into the firefights of Off the Grid, conquer the competition in Shadowline, or enjoy the nostalgic world of MapleStory. So why aren't you? We're actually going to be playing some MapleStory tomorrow with OpenSea as well as Avalanche. Should be a lot of fun. So super excited about that. Gamers, get ready to go gaga for Game 7, the gaming giant that's giving growth a gigantic boost. They're not just building bridges, they're blasting through barriers with brilliant blockchain breakthroughs. With Summon, they're conquering the secret sauce to keep players glued to your game. And with Hyperplay, they're hyping up the portal to instant Web3 access with no friction, just fun. Thanks to them for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. Last but not least, get ready to blast off with Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified, and its sensational preseason uh, preseason spectacular. Right now, you can plunge into the galaxy of captivating content, explore exotic exoplanets, engage in exhilarating expeditions, and experience the evolution of gaming graphics that redefine the cosmos. Got a game key to the preseason by joining Star Atlas Discord. Super excited about that. And we have also another specific speaker that's coming up, and I want to make sure that I introduce him properly. He's worked on games that have brought the worlds of Game of Thrones, Star Trek, The Walking Dead, and Archer to interactive life, but he's not just a master of adoption. He is a problem solver, a platform pioneer, a champion for creative freedom. For the past 5 years, he's dedicated his expertise to Beamable, a revolutionary infrastructure platform designed to unshackle game designers from the tedious technicalities and let them return to their true passion, crafting captivating experiences. He's a facilitator of fun, a champion of creative control. From Beamable, it's John Radoff. How are you doing, my brother?
Hey, thanks for having me, and nicely well done. I was coming in hot there, only 12 minutes late, and you
Oh,
dropped me right into the chat. So appreciate that, and also just wanted to give a shout out to Sinjin today, even though I don't see him here on stage, but did a really awesome live stream with him just this morning. So you want to hear Sinjin dropping the F bomb at the highest ratio ever in one of my streams? This is your chat this morning. He dropped not only F bombs, but many words of wisdom. I totally recommend that one. It's towards the top of my feed. Anyway, thanks for
He,
having me here.
he
love
just
it.
messaged me that he had to bail. He's like, I'm feeling like death. And he was here for like 5 minutes and then said
Yeah, he
he's
came
got to
in
go.
to throw, typical Sinjin. At least he got that as well. But no, I love him to death. And yeah, that video has been circulating within Wolves, and a lot of people have been saying some tremendous things about that, John. So thanks for also pitching it here. But we have the first topic here, and I'm excited about this one because it is kind of a stir on the timeline, not just in crypto, but also just in the broader gaming space as well. What's the word for Nintendo putting Switch 2 pre-orders on pause in the US due to tariffs? And so pre-orders for the Switch 2 were supposed to begin today, but Nintendo pumped the brakes and put it on pause due to all current tariff drama. Despite this, they still plan to have official launch on June 5th. What's the word for Nintendo pausing US pre-orders due to tariffs? And we actually, in the pre-show, Knock was kind of talking a little bit about it. And I was like, wait, save that for the show, the alpha for that. So Knock, I want to give it over to you first. And then I saw Dub, Kevin, and then John.
Yeah, I want to just really quickly call out Paul Bettner and Jerry for not being here. Bunch of absolute cowards who talked a bunch of shit about giving me shit this week to talk about Nintendo, and they're not here. So cowards, I just want to go on the record by saying that start before we start anything.
And
The
that's it. We
word
can move on
is
to Dub. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
the word is hilarious. What's funnier than a fucking console that shouldn't be anywhere near $500 being 50% more expensive because the president of the United States woke up one morning, spun a wheel, and applied 50% tariffs on the country in which Nintendo will be manufacturing these things. It's hilarious. All of that being said, obviously, less than 90 minutes ago or a couple hours ago, we get this news that global tariffs have been paused on everybody except for China. So maybe they open up pre-orders. It's just chaotic. This is just I can't believe what is happening with Nintendo around the Switch 2 launch. We talked about it a little bit last week, but it's ridiculously overpriced. They didn't really announce anything. On launch, there isn't a whole ton to be excited about except for the ninth iteration of a game we've been playing for the last 25 years. And now there's uncertainty about whether or not it's going to be available for pre-sale, whether or not tariffs will be applied to the price of that pre-sale. I think part of the confusion that a lot of people are missing now with Nintendo is it's said to be a 90-day pause, which would bring us past that June 5th date, which is meant to be the launch of Switch 2. But should that come back online, what happens to people who purchased prior to tariffs coming back? I think it's just madness. It's going to be hilarious to watch unfold. Yeah, can't believe that this is happening.
Yeah, word is chaotic is a good one there. It's also just like chaotic everywhere. Dub.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the words unexpected marketing. Obviously, this was like a reaction that Nintendo felt like they had to take. In the end, it was pretty lucky and random that the world of gamers was like, "This is our fucking flag that says tariffs are unacceptable." Like, props to Nintendo. Like, I don't think that was their master plan. That's why I think it's like unexpected marketing. But having worked in international trade and large purchase orders to the scale of a launch like this on around physical products, like even though something was stopped 2 days ago, and that is like a fresh stop, those are typically hard stops. And regardless of what happens news wise now, I would imagine the delay is still going to go forward, just because that's just how these systems typically work from my experience. But maybe we'll see some changes. Either way, it's like great that this isn't ended up being the like flag piece for all gamers saying like enough's enough on the tariffs, and props to Nintendo on taking advantage of the marketing moment if they were wise enough to do that.
Awesome. Good takes there, brother. They'll go Kevin and then John.
I'm gonna take the over on was this an accident or was this planned, and say perhaps it was planned. I don't know, but maybe you're right, Doug. Maybe it was a happy accident. But I'm gonna go tactical is the word for this one. Like pausing pre-orders could actually be a pretty good negotiation tactic, right? Like externally, you're sending a signal that tariffs have real consequences for consumers in the United States, and there's going to be some socialization of that, right? And internally it gives them a lot more time to decide like how they want to absorb this. Do they want to tweak their supply chain? Do they want to diversify manufacturing partners, relocate some of their production or whatever, or pass along the cost to consumers, which I don't think they want to do. But by pausing pre-orders now, they're avoiding a situation where they have to like raise the prices post announcement, which would be just catastrophic, I think. So TLDR, tactical risk management, not just financially, but with customer perception as well.
Doc, do you have a reply to that? I saw your hand go up right after Kevin started speaking about that stuff. But if not, we can move over to John.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I think one of the things that's important to understand here when it comes to cost savings is that uh, I would venture to say it's going to be damn near impossible for that to ever be a reality. Like we're talking less than 60 days out from the launch of Switch 2. Pre-orders were supposed to go live a couple of days ago. They just spun up a manufacturing plant. They've moved their plant from, I believe they had manufacturing in Japan and China to Vietnam. Vietnam was the target of a 46% tariff. So the price of that Switch increased by 50, damn near 50% in a facility that was just built to the tune of a few hundred million, if not billions worth of dollars to build that facility, and a supply chain that was just created to push out this product in particular. There is no world where manufacturing of Switch 2 moves out of Vietnam. And I think the big concern now is what do we actually do with pricing? Because if we open up pre-orders today and say, hey, you can pre-order again at 50% more expensive, because that's probably what's going to be turned back on at some point within the next 60 days. It's never going to be a 90-day pause. That's the struggle. So earlier, like we said, just chaotic. Like, how do you navigate this if you're Nintendo?
Yeah, good points, brother. Also, Kate, I see you down in the audience too. If you want to come up, I know you commented on Nintendo Switch too, as well, and it's always good to have you back in the space for sure. John, you're up, brother.
This was a really smart tactical as well as strategic move. So tactically speaking, they just need to bring a little bit, well, more than a little bit. They need to bring a lot more stability to the pricing of all the components and the whole supply chain for this, because obviously pricing can't just be a roll of the dice when you're trying to take pre-orders. And also just the reality, economically speaking, is like even if they could predict that now the Switch was going to be $1,000 per unit, like that's obviously a horrible outcome because supply and demand tells you that the unit sales is going to go way down if the pricing goes up that much. So hurts them and it hurts the consumer and just everybody involved, really. Strategically speaking, though, I think it's really interesting to look at kind of the deep history of MAGA and like the components of this movement and why video games is actually a really important part of the culture of MAGA. So there's a whole bunch of components to MAGA. One of it is the video gaming wing, and it goes all the way back to Steve Bannon in the first run at the White House when Trump took power for the first time. Steve Bannon, for those who don't like know his background before he was a major advisor to Trump, he was the guy who was behind IGE, which was a real money trading platform for things like World of Warcraft gold and items. And he was behind that. And so he had been involved in games for a while. And if you look at the cast of characters really early on, going back to the Tea Party movement and the pre-MAGA things and Gamergate, that was largely a kind of a right-leaning movement. And all of this I'm saying, by the way, I'm not stating anything political about this. I think this is just sort of the real history of that movement that few people would really object to on either side. There was a lot of these right-leaning kind of video gaming or very right-leaning video game oriented organizations and people that were part of this early movement of bringing in some people into MAGA who were not like the typical, like there's these different wings to it. There's the blue collar person who feels like they were left behind by all the economic changes. There's older people who've been historically conservative anyway, and over time, like usually younger people don't end up joining highly conservative movements, but that wasn't quite true with Trump and the video game sector that they were able to capture the first time. So I think Nintendo is totally aware of that. And they're not just making the tactical move, they're also saying, don't fuck with us. Like, you have a demographic who's just going to be pissed off now. And they might think about this a little bit differently unless you A, fix it, and B, don't go there again. So really smart move on Nintendo's part at multiple levels.
Good points, John. Thank you for the history there too. I didn't know all of that. Next up, tatted lawyer, Mister, and then we can go to Will's.
Yeah, so if I'm being perfectly honest, I actually don't think the tariffs are that big of a deal on everything. I'm going to take the opposite here. I also don't really think it's a big marketing play at all. I think the whole global world right now is trying to navigate these tariffs. I think every electronics maker and their mothers are pausing sales to the U.S. to just see how the dust settles and what's going on. Obviously, as we can tell just with the last few hours, the tariff issue is an up and down issue. So if you're a company that is trying to forecast, it's almost impossible to forecast right now because you don't know what's going to happen on like a political spectrum. So I don't actually look at this as that big of a deal. If you actually look at Nintendo sales, usually the first year of their sales actually is not generally their best year in terms of console sales. Their best year for the last Switch was actually 2020 when Animal Crossing came out, and a ton of people bought the Switch just so they could play Animal Crossing. So I don't really think this is going to hurt Nintendo. Obviously, the U.S. is their biggest consumer base when it comes to the Switch, with 35% of consoles sold there. But in the grand scheme of things, how many people were pre-ordering the Switch 2 in the first place? I don't think it actually hurts their sales. I think Nintendo gets stronger after it releases consoles rather than before, and that's usually proven in history and the numbers as well. As it relates to the tariffs and like the cost of the console, I think again we just have to wait and see. We have no idea kind of what's going to happen. I think everybody's looking at these tariffs as if they're going to be something that's put in place forever, which it doesn't really seem like that's what's happening from behind the scenes of the Trump administration, because it looks like they're negotiating with a significant amount of countries right now. And talking to a few contacts that I have in the government, that's kind of why I have a lot of confidence in what's happening right now, and that'll actually turn out to be a really, really good situation for the U.S. So I kind of think we're in a wait and see mode, just like every other country in the world is in a wait and see mode. So I'm going to say this is a pretty low hanging fruit here, and not that big of a deal on in any way, shape, or form outside of just being able to forecast for the future as a business.
Thank you for your commentary. Kate, you just put up your hand. I don't know if you just switched from your computer to your phone or anything like that, but did you want to reply to that, or we can move on to Will's as well?
Yeah, I think my internet connection, I think the Wi-Fi only works in part of the house. Sorry about that. Hey everybody. Yeah, I wanted to chime in about the tariff piece. I mean, Framework is a computer company that makes their computers in Taiwan mostly. They are a modular computer company, et cetera, et cetera. They are like a relatively smaller tech company compared to like the Microsofts of the world. And they're a company that I've been watching to see how they respond to the tariffs as well. And they had said that they initially were like basically unsure of like what to do. They had said, that they were going to raise the pricing or pause the release of their next laptop, and now that the tariffs are on pause, now they're saying, okay, we're actually going to open pre-orders at the original price. And so it's really interesting, like businesses really have to respond in the moment to moment on pricing, because it does directly impact their bottom line in a really big way. And so yeah, if the tariffs go down, they're going to be able to do their prices that they were planning before, and if the tariffs go up, they have to raise prices. So I think it's pretty simple, and that it's gonna have a big impact if the tariffs are like put into place. But like I think the businesses are moving very fast and like staying very attuned to the news, because it like really can affect their business. And I don't think anyone wants to pay more than $500 for a Nintendo Switch. Like once you get to that price point, it might make sense to just get like a PS5 or something. And so I think that's what a lot of people are thinking about as well, is just like, can we even justify like paying that much for an item?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's also what like Knox point was too. Wills, you had your hand up. Wills, and then Jordan.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be agreeing with most of what Tatted Lawyer said. I don't think that this is a huge deal. I think it's a smart play by Nintendo to really, because Nintendo is a very like, from a business perspective, they like to do things safely. They like to do the right thing and make sure that what they're going to do is going to work. And I think this is them just being like, okay, there's some crazy shit going on right now. We're going to take it back. We're going to pause an area that could mess things up for us, which would be pre-orders, and because of everything that's going on with the tariffs. But I think that they're just waiting to see how Japan responds and what that relationship is going to look like. Obviously, their production in Vietnam, as Nock alluded to, is definitely a factor to consider. But yeah, I think we're in a negotiation period. We're in a period of massively shifting expectations and understanding of what's actually happening. And I think Nintendo is making the smart play of being like, okay, let's pause any potential outlets for loss. I highly doubt that we'll see an increase in that price that was shown for a number of reasons. One being that just doesn't seem like something that they would be open to doing to their consumers. Um, Obviously, if the tariff discussions go as horribly as they possibly could, I can see that happening, but I really don't see that panning out, because I think we are negotiating with countries and we are seeing, agreements be come to, and I would be surprised if Japan wasn't on that list.
Yeah, a lot of volatility. I think the whole world is tasting what crypto is usually just another Monday. Tatted, you had something to respond to.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing on that, because obviously you can look at different industries and what they're doing. And Toyotas are also made in Japan. Toyota literally just came out and said we're not raising any of our prices. We actually might be lowering them. So like I said, I really think this is a huge non-starter issue. Countries are going to figure out their supply chain stuff, and I think it's going to happen a lot faster than what people are thinking.
Awesome. Thanks, commentary on that, Jordan, and then we'll finish up with Knock, and then we'll move on to the next subject.
Yeah. um, I've been coming around to the view of the tariff situation, and I see more people are talking about this too. This is not my idea, um, but there is a much larger thing at play. Tariffs are not about the consumer pricing of goods. There's a large move happening with an attempt to cut off the slow, steady balance shift that has been happening towards China in the kind of completely, company driven, open trade paradigm that we've been in for decades now. And this is kind of an very, very ballsy, big shot Hail Mary attempt at like cutting them off the knees here and completely restructuring things in a way that's much more favorable towards the Western world and towards the US dollar, and really hurts hurts China's pricing ability here and power globally financially, right? The United States' power in the world is the dollar first, military second, by a absolutely gigantic margin. Um, Anyone who says, what's backing the dollar, then shows stupid fucking memes of our military. They really have it backwards. But so it's interesting because typically I would think here that it's pretty irrelevant, right? That this is just a company doing what a company does, saying, okay, we think strategically the tariffs are going to be a shorter term phenomenon. We think that there's a goal that's going to be achieved here. And so all we want to do is like, on the off chance that we end up having to change the prices here or this thing becomes more expensive, we would rather not pre-sell a whole bunch of people this at one price and then have a bunch of angry consumers and potentially need to lose a lot of money, or like they're just like, let's temporarily pause. Let's not sell the thing at the price we're not positive we can do it at. The interesting thing though is that Nintendo is one of the most important companies in Japan, right? Same with Toyota. And Japan in general is a country with, not to speak out of turn, or this is just from a foreign perspective, but is a country that has a lot of nationalistic identity with their strongest companies that are their global presence, right? In the like brand identity of Japan into its economy. Japan is a critically important country in this kind of power grab global realignment attempt, or I'd say unrealignment attempt, right? It's trying to continue the existing alignment instead of allowing the realignment toward China to continue. Japan is probably the number one most important country to this tariff resolution because they are the close power competitor to China. They are their currency, as we've seen a couple different times. There's this whole carry trade thing with their currency that when that's kind of risked unwinding a couple times, we've seen big market drops. They are integral to the interconnected global financial system. They do not want to see China running it. And because of all of that, I think there is probably a bit more political entanglement with Nintendo's movements than I would otherwise say is just, a company selling consumer goods being protective. Sorry, that was kind of rambly, but
No, it's all good. No, again, a lot of commentary. I think a lot of this is like new to me. Like to be honest, I'm just like a gamer hosting gamified, stumbling over intros. So it's very interesting to listen to everybody right now. Knock, why don't you wrap us up, and then we can go more towards kind of what's happening around Web3 gaming. Yep, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's how I think this ends up playing out. I don't think that pre-sales come to North America full stop. It's just not worth the risk. It's not worth the uncertainty of tariffs coming back on or online or whatnot. I went to school for finance. The focus was economics, specifically global economics. Tariffs are literally, quite literally, the most widely studied and understood financial tool on the planet. And everybody in the world, except for whatever reason, people within this administration understand how this will play out. We bring in this level of uncertainty, it creates uncertainty. And as a business, you want to optimize for certainty and projections and ensuring that you know what's going on. Sorry, you can hear my dog following me around the house, squeaking this fucking toy. Um, and I think two things are really important to understand. The first is that there is a less than 0% chance that the government of Japan negotiates on behalf of a foreign country in Vietnam, because this is a product of Vietnam, the Switch 2. It's being produced entirely and will be shipped out of Vietnam. So there's no world in which Japan has any sort of say in terms of whether or not tariffs get lifted from Vietnam. And the larger issue that I think a lot of people are missing here is that this isn't a question about whether or not tariffs will exist in perpetuity. The question is, what happens when the executive in chief wakes up tomorrow morning and makes a new decision that tariffs are off or tariffs are on? I mean, literally a week ago, this is part of the reason why I don't think that pre-sales will come to the States. A week ago, everybody gets tariffs. 80 countries plus, you all have tariffs. Tomorrow morning we wake up, all right, we've put a 90-day pause on it, which already has been broken twice in two separate situations with Canada and Mexico. The issue here is about uncertainty in pricing, and I doubt Japan, or I doubt Nintendo rather, would even want to take the risk, because then you also enter this really weird situation where if you just go to market on June 5th, like you had initially planned, and tariffs are not in place, great. People want to run to the stores to purchase it because you don't know what might happen downstream. And if they are in place, it's still going to have to be figured out at some point, right? Whether or not it's through pre-sales, or whether or not it's when the store the items are actually within the store, it's going to be something that has to be dealt with. I just think it's madness. I don't see pre-sales coming to the US, to be honest with you, or Canada for that matter. Anywhere in North America is probably fucked from like a pre-sale perspective. But to Michael Christine's point, um, you know, pre-sales maybe not the biggest issue in the world here.
For sure. Michael, we're gonna move on mostly just for the fact that we have a lot of topics to talk about, but we'd love to talk to you about it a little bit more. And the one thing that I also want to talk about too is Kate Irwin also has a recent article that she's worked on for weeks, and I'm going to pin it up here to the top. So Lems, you can put up the sponsors one a little bit later. But this is bullish or bullshit. Shrapnel partners with the Chinese government to launch quote the first licensed Web3 game on the nation's RWA chain unquote. So this year they expect to have a dedicated game launcher tailored for the Chinese market, a marketplace built on China's RWA copyright chain, providing tools to manage the tokenization of real-world assets, exclusive Shrapnel in-game IP cosmetics only for Chinese players. So is this groundbreaking and paradigm shattering for like the Web3 space, or is it an interesting way to secure more funding? Another concern on the timeline is that the Chinese government now gets all the KYC data from anyone who previously withdrew their Shrap tokens. And also just wanted to give light to Kate's specific article as well. I think she spent a lot of time in it. I'm going to pin it up to the top here shortly. And it really is just talking about a lot of the due diligence that she's had when it comes to investigating Shrapnel. I don't know if you're comfortable in talking about it all, Kate. You don't have to. But just wanted to kind of put that out there for everybody to kind of discuss. Knock, I saw your arm shoot up, and then also Lems as well too. But I'll pin it up while you guys are talking.
Yeah, this is bullshit. Um, a couple weeks ago, or actually back in Vegas when we were there for the Parallel World Championship, I made a joke. I want to preface this by saying it was a joke. Dub came up to me, told Sam and I that he had just been let go from Shrapnel, and I said, "Who gets laid off on a Sunday?" And he laughed a little bit, but it turns out really lucky and fortunate people get laid off on a Sunday because the shitstorm that followed has just been a wild ride and nothing but fun to watch sort of unfold. Obviously, we know about a lot of the drama that's been happening with Shrapnel over the last little while, infighting with both senior leadership as well as the actual executive team and the foundation team who launched the Shrapnel token. Rumors come to light. I actually think Kate may have been the one who tweeted about this.
Yeah, she broke it.
About
Knock.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just pinned it up to the top. The article that you said that Kate broke.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Yeah, like $700,000 worth of Shrap token have been sold out from executive team. There was a ton of wild things. Tony and Dub and a couple of other people have mentioned, anecdotal stories about some of the madness that has gone over the course of the last couple of years there. To me, this just feels like a death knell. From the side of the Chinese government and the CCP, this fund obviously is meant to sort of combat what we've seen out of the Saudis over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. The Saudis bought a couple of large gaming studios over the last couple of years, including the studio that delivered Monopoly Go. They've done a bunch with sports and entertainment, and it feels like this is meant to be some form of answer to that Saudi government fund. Why you would start with a Web3 title on a blockchain that doesn't really even exist today, on a title that's not complete, that probably needs another 20 to $30 million to complete, and is largely sort of been shunned from the Web3 community as they've parted ways with a lot of the talent that people here loved. I don't know. But I think that the entire thing is bullshit. It's just a confirmation that Shrapnel, as we knew it, is dead and gone probably forever. And I can't imagine that this actually ends up being anything of significance over on that RWA chain.
Yeah, I would love to give it over to oh Lems, you put down your hand. So I'll give it over to Tatted and then we'll go over to Kate who broke your story.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Knock here. I think it's bullshit. So I actually had a pretty significant conversation with our head of Asia on this, and so just to give a little background, our head of Asia has been publishing games in China specifically for the last 15 years. He essentially told me this is either going to be like the most amazing thing ever for Shrapnel, and the Chinese government has just completely changed their mind as it relates to cryptocurrency, and they're going to onboard the entire Chinese population into this game and onto this chain, or it's essentially the worst move ever. There's no in between. He said the Chinese government in the last 10 years has not given any inclination that that's how they're going to be, or that's what they're going to change their mind to in regards to crypto. So I personally am going to err on the side of history and look at China's historical stance towards blockchain and crypto and say that this is total bullshit. It's not going to be great. It's not going to do anything for Web3 gaming because China's a pretty gated market in the first place when it comes to anything outside of China being launched in China. So I think this is just something crazy for Shrapnel, and it just further kind of proves the turmoil, if you will, that's inside of their company right now. Kind of reiterating what Tony and Dub had said on Monday at Simplified. It's just it doesn't look good to me, and it's something that I would personally stay 100 feet away from.
Yeah.
100 foot pole.
No, for sure. It's definitely like a Hail Mary for sure. Like, and I think a lot of that you can kind of give context based off of like Kate's story. So, Kate, I want to toss it over to you if you have any other context, but the article is pretty thorough.
Thanks. Yeah, and I recommend everyone read it because everything in that story has been very, very thoroughly vetted. So I think it's better to sort of just read it instead of me sharing my personal opinions. But what I will say is that there's a lot more to this story that I just wasn't able to like verify everything in time. So, I mean, there's a lot more crazy, crazy stuff that is not in this story. And yeah, I don't know what to say. It's totally crazy. So, I mean, they have not responded to me since I got that list of questions back. I basically sent them a very long list of questions addressing a lot of the points in the article, and they responded to most of them, but they did not respond to any of the financial stuff regarding their internal financials. So, essentially, I have not heard from them since that list, and I had been trying to understand like where does Shrapnel go from here with the token? You know, is it going to be ever in the game? And I just think there's still so many unanswered questions of this game that is, according to them, still going to launch. But it raised a lot of questions for me about, you know, what are they doing with Avalanche? And I mean, Avalanche, they told me that it's still happening. I really don't know what's actually going on regarding the actual future of the game. But the China deal is very interesting. It's very complicated. There are about like 4 or 5 different entities involved, including a company that's based in Panama for some reason. So yeah, it's all quite complicated, and I just recommend people read it because I just want it to speak for itself and just sort of lay the facts on the table so people can draw their own conclusions about this whole thing.
Yeah, again, yeah, echo everything that Kate said. Lems, you have your hand up, and then we'll go to Knock.
Yeah, I'm not going to rehash the same points that are here. Like, I think it's bullshit too. The one thing that really caught my eye was when people started talking about the KYC stuff, and this is where I'm going to, be the guy that rants about privacy again and KYC in games. Like, it's you never know where the data is going to go. I remember at the time everyone's like, "Oh, it's like they only need to do it just they're trying to stay above board." But then where does that data go afterwards, right? Like we've seen this on other Web2 companies too, like 23andMe just went into bankruptcy and all that like genetic data now gets like acquired by someone else and they get to do whatever the hell they want with it. I don't know if that's the case with this, deal with the Chinese government acquiring Shrapnel, but like one can assume if they're acquiring it and they own everything they have, they get all that like KYC personal data. I don't know, just rubs me the wrong way that like in gaming we're having to KYC for things, and like that's why I'm bullish on blockchain because you can have like a gamer profile and know like what kind of games a person likes to play and have like their assets without like having personal information on them. Because yeah, when I saw that, like I hadn't even thought about that when I saw the news, and I think it speaks volumes that this news dropped on April 1st, and everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke because of how like bizarre it was when we saw this headline. And then it's like, oh no, it's actually real, and oh yeah, they just own everything from Shrapnel now, and yeah, who knows what comes of that KYC data. But as the privacy maxi on the panel, to say, yeah, keep that in mind when you're handing over your personal info to various companies. If you don't know, like they might get acquired by someone else, and you lose all your shit.
one, Charlie would be proud. Definitely Charlie Blackstock of Farcade. And then second, the other major acquisition that scares literally the crap out of me is Discord being bought by like another company. And like Discord just has so much data and they're terrible on privacy. So it's another one that is going to be probably in the books. They're probably going to IPO, but if somebody else purchases them, world of hurt. Doc.
Yeah, Michael, I have a question for you, and obviously not legal advice or anything, but just curious to get your POV here. One of the things that has confused the hell out of me with this particular acquisition is like there are a number of outstanding lawsuits from both like the team itself as well as Shrapnel as the company and the external party that launched the Shrapnel token. Like, would this not have been a deterrent in this type of acquisition? Like, how does this even happen with active lawsuits? Or am I just totally ignorant and that sort of thing happens?
Wait, are you
No,
saying that China's acquiring them? Because I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. So the rumor, Kate, that I'm sort of alluding to is maybe, yeah, maybe something we'll dive in a little bit deeper, you and I offline, but I'll say at a high level this. There was a rumor that new documentation went through to a bunch of people who had stakes and shares within Shrapnel, and the assumption is that that is in part to transfer over some of that to this new corporation or this new spun up entity. Anyway, in either case, the idea would be if this was an acquisition, is an acquisition of a company with active lawsuits something that even happens?
What lawsuit is still active? Because I know that the main one with 4D has been resolved according to lawyers from both parties, and there's like a hearing for April 10th, and then it's basically over. So I'm wondering if you're referring to other lawsuits besides that one.
Nope, there's the answer actually. I didn't realize that
Okay.
the April 10th was the resolution. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I
uh,
mean, I'll just note, like, regarding the financial stuff, and the sort of the founder, co-founder sell-off, that's only from one wallet that we know of. So we don't know if the other many founders have been selling. We just don't know. If anyone has any ideas on whose wallet might belong to who, let me know. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, this isn't the whole entire story. Like, this is a slice of a much bigger story, I think. And it's even a 10-page story, and this is just a slice of the whole pie, I think.
It's about to be the new CoffeeZilla for sure. Tattered
Yeah,
and better.
and not just to answer your question, yes, it would generally generate a lot of red flags. My biggest like eye raised moment about this entire deal is why would China come and buy a Western game company? Like there's a bunch of Eastern game companies that obviously are more in their wheelhouse, have more of their target customer base, etc. So that's really what makes this whole thing is like even more suspicious to me because it's like there's a lot of games in Asia doing pretty well in the Web3 space. So it's one of those like, huh, why this one? So that's just my take. Again, we'll see. We'll hear more information, I'm sure, in the coming months. But suspicious to me. That's why I call bullshit.
Cool. Kevin, and then we can move on.
Yeah, this is interesting. I knew the a lot of the original team of Shrapnel very well from prior, some were prior coworkers, some were friends. All of them, most of them have moved on, I think, by now. But I knew a lot of them, including their executive team, some of them. And man, they had definitely had some hardships and hard times. The optics around the founder selling is never a good thing in Web3, and that's cringe. Like I don't even have anything to say about that other than like, ouch, yikes, kind of thing. The I wonder if anyone knows this, if they, because they're trying to, get funding and looking at all avenues. Did they approach that as an option, or were they approached? Was that part of the? I haven't read the full article yet, Kate, but like, do you know if where that initiated, or is there no data on that?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that? I was like typing like a crazy person.
Yeah, just like where did who made the first move? Was it Shrapnel team reaching out to CCP or vice versa, or is that?
I think that from what I understand, I think the team reached out to
Yeah,
that to
yeah,
to China. That is what
yep.
the best I understand so far.
And that makes sense. I mean, when you're like, hey, we need to keep everybody employed, we need to keep the company afloat, we have a decent game here, we'd love to have it see the light of day. I mean, I can understand the logic of you consider just about every option, right? That is that is available. So in terms of being scrappy and being resourceful, I wouldn't have thought of that. Hey, let me check with China, but it is interesting nonetheless. No clue what comes out of it, and I think they mentioned that they're still planning to release in US. At least I saw a post about something like that, but I would love to see that
Yeah.
game see the light of day. The Web3 side of that game has always been a little bit cursed from my perspective. It's just always been like, oh, does anyone know what's going on with the NFTs? What's the land? What's the utility of the token? And those stories have always been uh, more muddy than I think Web3 would have liked. So that's always been tough. But as far as I played the demo at GDC 2 years ago. I saw the game and it needed work, but I mean, it looked like the makings of it had the opportunity to be a good game, and that means a
Right.
lot to me.
I was there too. I think it was supposed to be the Call of Duty of crypto, and that's kind of what I wrote about at the beginning of the story. Like it was supposed to be a game that was very, very much for Western audiences, for the Call of Duty bros. And so I just think it's a very interesting shift to go to China, given the rules there, from what I understand, around like blood in video games and guns in video games and like characters that you can play. Like there's sort of restrictions on the types of characters you can play. So there's just a lot of rules from what I understand. So I don't know if any of those rules are going to be applied to this version of the game. I just really don't know, but I think it would be great to get clarity on all that stuff.
Yeah, and this is pure speculation on my part because I haven't talked to anybody there in forever. But um, you know, you take those. Oh, we have to release in Germany where the blood has to be green. Fine. Like if it's that or we sunset it, what are your options, right? You would totally do that. So, but I'm interested to know too. Maybe we'll get more info soon. Thanks for posting that story too. It was great.
Kate's gonna be the one that breaks it, calling it CoffeeZilla, and also Bullish that she's using a mechanical keyboard that she can't even hear her own speaking. So that's awesome. Um, all right, that was a very fun. I think both of those was very enlightening for me. If I was very passive, it was mostly just because I was intaking information, not so much outtaking information. So I want to take a second here to thank sponsors that makes this show possible, and then we'll go into a fun little segment of Dump, Mary, and oh my gosh, I totally jacked it up. Dump Date Mary for that. All right, so first up is hold on to your helmets. Avalanche is the king of game change and the official game of Gamified. Join us for a shivering shout out and try out Shatterline and Off the Grid, two of the hottest games on the coolest chain. We're also going to be streaming on Wolves as well as OpenSea as well as Avalanche Gaming tomorrow. Maple Story, so that's really exciting to see there. They're conquering the cold with cutting edge technology and a community that's as frosty as fierce. So bundle up, bring your A game, and craft your very own L1 to service all your blockchain gaming needs. Next up, Giddy Up Gamers, get ready to gallop into Game 7 Nation, the glorious gaming galaxy where players pack a punch. They're signed over 150 games and have 30 million wallets ready to rumble with their Mega MetaMask partnership. Come join the digital nation and get your citizenship so you can level up your life. Thanks to Game 7 for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And last but not least, we have This Isn't Your Average Space Sim. It is a comic cocktail of stunning visuals, deep strategy, and player owned everything. So build your own spaceship, Andromeda, and explore uncharted worlds with your friends. But Star Atlas isn't just about spaceships and lasers. It's about building a community, a galactic civilization where players write the rules. So if you're ready to trade your boring Earth life for a cosmic adventure, join the Star Atlas fleet today and hop in Discord to grab a game key. Thanks for the official game of Gamified, which is Star Atlas. Shout out to them. They also were at Wolves Den. It was a lot of fun. I think very impressive what they've built over the last 3 years. But the next topic here for the panelists, and thank you guys for bringing such heat today, and also Kate for putting out that article and just giving context for the panel today. But Dump Date Mary, tokens, NFTs, stablecoins / majors. So this is a fun little thing. So shout out to Memento, and we'll post his post here up top and pinned up. But for posting an analysis on gaming token launches for Q1 2025, there's been over 30 gaming TGEs, but they are basically all down bad, with an average of being down 70%. Even Off the Grid, which is one of the leading games in the space, is down 50% from its launch. NFTs seem to still be pretty dead, even with a few exceptions performing well in Q1, like On-Chain Heroes and Gigaverse. Should games just use crypto rails for stablecoins or majors like ETH or Sol for payments and not even bother launching their own assets? So just want to kind of give to the panel, Dump, Date, and Mary. tokens, NFTs, stablecoin / majors. I know we're cheating a little bit there, but I think it's warranted. Tatted, I saw you pop up your hand. Please.
Yes, might have a unique take on this. No game should be launching tokens. Let the publisher launch their tokens. Most games tokens don't have any utility, as we all know. That's why they keep failing. The Guns token has no utility. It dropped instantly. On-chain Heroes had utility as of day one. Their token's doing great. You know, it's really not a secret what's happening around here. So I'm going to say marry NFTs. I want to see more games incorporating NFTs. That was the spirit of Web3 gaming in 2021. That's what got all of us into Web3 gaming, was that our assets could be NFTs, tradable across all these different games, with the potential that interoperability could actually become real amongst these different titles. Like, let's bring that spirit back. We don't need these massive token economies that really don't do anything other than have like meme coin speculation, because meme coin speculation leads to the market that we're in currently, which is everybody's pissed, everybody's down bad, nothing is good, the world is ending. Bring back NFTs, dump tokens. I forgot what the other thing was, but that's
Stables, or
what I say here.
like it's probably your date stables and majors, which is, yeah.
Yes, I'll date stables and majors for sure. They look pretty good at the other end of the bar. Would love to take them out.
Nice. Great. Great one, Tatted. We'll go over to Knock and then Lems and then Wills.
Oh, love that analogy. Okay, so absolutely, marry NFTs. Would agree. I was in a car in San Francisco with Easy Eats, and he said something to me that has just stuck. Uh, yes, NFTs have low liquidity. They're typically very illiquid assets. That's a feature, not a bug. And I think a lot of people have been looking at it as a bug for way too long. NFT prices tend to hold up a lot better than token prices do. Teams that have NFTs just tend to do fun things around owning that asset. It's a signal of belonging and membership a lot more than any dollar amount holding a particular token can ever be. So for me, absolutely 100% marry NFTs. They also have like real in-game uses. It's clearly the best asset class. I'll go a little bit different than Tata did here. I'll say date in-game tokens and like your ERC20s or your SPL tokens, mostly just because I want to see it fucking work. Yes, historically, it's been a nightmare for most teams. Yes, most teams have used it as just a way to raise non-dilutive capital over the course of the last couple of years, and it's been a great vehicle for raising non-dilutive capital. You don't have to give anything up for your company. You bring in a bunch of fucking money, and hopefully, if you do well, your token continues to bring in money for you downstream. Whether or not it works in in-game economy, I think the jury is still out. There are a couple of teams that people are excited about, teams like Eve and MapleStory, that are looking to implement a token, and hopefully it works there. So for that reason, I'll have to date it. And then I'm gonna dump stables and majors. I've seen a lot of conversation about this over the last little while. If you want to peg all of your in-game assets to USDC, just drop the fucking C and use USD like every other game in Web 2. It makes no sense for me to just peg everything to a finite amount of US dollars. It's just Web 2 with extra steps. It's part of the reason why I don't like a lot of the things that are happening, pushing us in that direction. But yeah, definitely dump the stables and majors.
Nice. Good job, Knock. Lems, you're up, and then Wills.
All right, well, Tatted is my spirit animal today because, yes, I am so with him on the marrying NFTs. Like, basically, a lot of similar takes here, but I'll add a little bit of nuance as well. I think Knock made a great point about NFTs being illiquid as a feature. Like, if we're looking at NFTs to be more like collectibles, which is pretty much what we want in games, like, you're flexing, you have your collectibles. Guess what? The IRL collectibles market is illiquid as fuck. It's way more illiquid than like real life or than NFTs. Like, imagine trying to like go sell your thing. You have to go to the store, do all this bullshit. Hey, NFTs, they're online, easier to actually be able to trade easily. So hell yeah, marry those. I'm going to say date the stable coins and majors, and I'm going to push back on Knox's point of like, hey, if you're going to use USDC, just use USD. But one, you're stuck going through the app store. You're at that 30%. You can also use other, like we're kind of cheating a bit here on this game mode because we're saying majors, and Peyton and I were even talking about this before, and I think this is the same for a lot of people. If you price something in ETH or Sol, I will not treat it as the same thing as what it is as its USD value. Unit bias is a hell of a drug, and it's a very powerful thing. I have bought many things in crypto for games just because I'm like, oh, 0.1 ETH, and then meanwhile, like ETH's at 3K, and if that was like $300, I'd be like, fuck no, I'm not going to spend $300 on this. So I think using majors in games works really well, and crypto rails are just like way more efficient than traditional payment methods. I'm going to say dump tokens, but I'm going to have a little bit of a caveat here. Like Knock, I want them to work, and I think there will be certain games that make them work. So, I might maybe go and, cheat on whoever I'm dating or marrying with a token if it's nice enough and it looks good enough that it might actually work. Then, I'm down to, have a little fun with the token on the side. But generally, dump them for most games.
Toxic lambs, man. I like it. All right. Love it. Will's next, and then we can go over to Kevin.
It's tricky because I'm with everybody on marrying NFTs, and I said this a little bit last week. I said, that's why it's why we're all here is the value prop of NFTs. But I almost want to marry stables right now just because we need to get people there. We need to get people, like Knox said, it's Web 2 with extra steps. Exactly. That's what we're looking for. We need an easy on ramp that gets people in and gets people using and activating with NFTs as soon as possible. And I think that stable coins can be that. A lot of the time yes, it would be super cool if we could get these complex token economies up and running. And I think that has the potential to happen in the future.
Did he drop or me?
So, are we on?
Okay, sorry, that might have been me. Go ahead. Sorry, Wills.
Okay, yeah. I don't think anybody's going to be doing that anytime soon, and I don't think it's of immediate value to the gamers right now. What I think is of immediate value is getting them onboarded with NFTs, and that's what I think stablecoins can do. So to recap, I'm going to marry stablecoins. I'm going to date NFTs, but I'm eventually going to marry NFTs. That's the long game, and dumping tokens.
So you're going to marry the stables, but then divorce them later to marry the NFTs later?
Exactly. I'm playing big games. I'm playing games of intrigue.
NFTs are that really hot second wife. I get it.
Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna let Knock rebuttal. Yeah, exactly, Kate. Proud married man for like over almost 10 years now. Anyways, Kevin, or sorry, Knock rebuttal because I know that's why he shot up his hand, like an arrow in the knee, and then Kevin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, listen, when was the last time you actually purchased anything within a game $4? You buy a fucking currency within that game, and then you never have enough of that fucking currency to buy the thing that you want the next time. So you got to buy more of that currency. Even in traditional gaming, you're buying a currency that you use that obfuscates away how much money you're spending. So even in the traditional market, you're rarely using USD beyond the initial purchase of a paid game. But in something like Valorant, I get sucked into this cycle every fucking 2 weeks. I buy a skin, I buy enough points just for enough of that skin, and then I'm 50 points short of the other skin that I want 2 weeks later, and I buy more of those fucking points, and I continue to do it, and before I know it, I'm $1,500 in the hole. But to me, I just spent a few Riot points. I didn't spend any real fucking money. So even in the traditional market, you're not using USD.
Okay, just to shoot back really quick on that, but the value of RP has stayed the same. I haven't played League in like 6 years, and I know exactly what kind of skin 975 is going to get me. I know exactly the quality, and I know how, and I'm probably going to have to spend just over $10 to get it. Like, it's consistent, it's stable, it's easy, and that's exactly what it is. It's stable. That one of the things that really I think scares people away from engaging with these commodities, NFTs, and tokens alike is the volatility. So if we can get people in, and maybe it does take that form, maybe it takes the form of an in-game currency that is like pegged, like it's not USDC, but it is USDC. Like you use it to, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, as long as it engages with people enough to the point where they have a wallet they can use NFTs, because that's where the real value is, and that's where we can really start changing how games are played.
Yeah, Will's second wife of dating to marry his second. It's weird. It's weird. Kevin.
Half of this was so easy, and the other half was really tough. The easy half was marry NFTs. I mean, come on. Like, sure, we have our NFTs and when utility, when announcement from that era. But in a year or 3 from now, we are going to have NFTs that people have emotional connection to, stories, experiences, and they're going to be like, do you want to sell that? No, why would I sell that? Like, we're going to have that world, and that's and easily the kind of thing you want to be married to, from my perspective, the thing that is timeless, that lasts forever, that you would never give up, just like your partner. So that one was really easy. The other two were really hard. Like, I guess I'm gonna go with Tatted on this and go. The thing I feel most strongly about dumping is tokens that aren't necessary, that have no meaningful reason to exist. So it's not tokens all in general, because some tokens are cool and funny, or memes or whatever, and then there will be tokens that have utility and you're like, oh my god, I need that. But just looking at the landscape of where we are today, there's a lot of tokens that don't satisfy that. So I'm like, dump those all day long. And I can't come up with a good reason to date stables and majors other than like, hey, when you're dating someone, it's nice when it's stable. I don't know. I just don't have a good metaphor for this. So I'm going to have to just say it's my third option and let it go.
Nice. The only one that has done it is like Will's of being stable, Jordan, you're up next.
I will definitely agree, marrying NFTs. Our industry, is incredibly fickle and scurries around like a scared little mouse, because all of these assets are volatile and it feels like our futures hang in the balance. And we keep learning, we keep acting like something has failed and we learned a lesson and moving on, when really we're just chasing narrative pumps, and lessons haven't, like, we got to stop learning lessons when a lesson hasn't been taught. Gaming NFTs didn't fail. A bunch of unready games sold gaming NFTs. Those are completely different things, right? And I want to like double tap on something I guess Easy said to knock in his humble brag of, I was in a car with Easy Eats story. Like, people, when Blast came out, right, and a whole bunch of NFT floor prices started just like trucking towards zero, people, a lot of people defending Blast for saying like, oh, they're just show, because just for anyone listening who doesn't know, Blast made trading NFTs much more easy. It was much more like a market maker, and the liquidity increased dramatically for how easily you could buy and sell NFTs. And a lot of them started trending towards zero. People were like, look, all Blast is doing is showing us the real value of these NFTs. That's not true. The value of something is what the market will pay for it in the structure of the market, right? The value of art, of like collectible high-end art, is not detached from the fact that to buy it, you've got to know the market, you've got to go to an auction house, you need to have, all this knowledge, you need to have the right connections, you need to have a lot of money, like all that shit. Oh, right. Sorry. Thank you, Lems. I meant Blur, not Blast, but same group. Um, either way, I'm glad ICO isn't in here. He could have, smacked me down about this. But anyway, these aren't separated things. The value of the current, look at a gaming NFT market that's working well, Gigaverses right now, right? It's completely within their game. That's how you're buying and selling that stuff. I have participated in that market because it's right there and I'm earning the currency and it's all there and it's really easy. That is its value. Its value isn't like, oh, if we want to put those on a different marketplace, it made it easier to buy and sell, right? So anyway, sorry, we're playing a game here. Marry gaming NFTs. I'm gonna date gaming tokens. I think that it is yet another exact same example of something that has not failed as a thesis at all, and there was just a bunch of bad implementations. Um, and whatever the third option is with stables, I agree with the points that like there are reasons to use stables over just dollars, and if there aren't, then a lot of us have been lying the whole time and saying why we're here and the benefits of blockchain technology. But I think they're the least relevant thing to what we're all doing.
Ayo. Nice, Jordan. Love it, love it. Jerry, welcome to the panel, big dog. Where were you?
Hey, sorry, I had a important call to be on. What's up?
Okay.
What are we doing? What's the question?
Boot
Do you
'em.
want me to
Oh, we
do
get
your
it.
intro?
More important than us. Yeah, geez. Send him to the
Yeah.
shame corner.
talking to Easy. You know, that's just what it is.
Maybe he was in a car with Easy Eats.
Yeah, exactly. Jerry, we're doing a question for date dump Mary tokens, NFTs, or stablecoin slash majors on that. But before you answer, I'm gonna give you your intro to be able to think about it, and then you can go. All right. All right. He's a master of metrics, a wizard of web traffic, a connoisseur of both conversations and conversions. Oh shoot, Sam Glaze, brother. Working with Uptick, he's the architect of audience engagement, the sculptor of social strategies, the conductor of compelling campaigns, and your witness his rise from the goat and fraud to the goat and god right here on Gamified. It's Jerry, the goat and god singer, and also your Krispy Kreme, because you're about to get glazed, brother.
That hurt my heart because all these Chat GPT renditions of Studio Ghibli's are they're making me fat. So Krispy Kreme should not be mentioned in my name
Hey,
ever again.
dude, Jerry, low key, the only reason why you haven't seen one, this is also the page behind Sam's account. There's also a reason why you haven't seen me post one, because the same exact thing happened on GPT, bro. I'm like, am I really this fat? I told Hannah, like, dude, is this like me? She's like, oh, that kind of looks like you. I'm like, dude, this is literally 300 pounds.
Yeah, I started working out and fasting. I'm not kidding.
That's where you are. That's where you were for this last past hour. So I'm glad.
Yeah. I'm gonna marry NFTs, I guess, because I like a little. Do you want a stable marriage, or do you want somebody? There's a great quote from Bell and Sebastian, and it's color my life with the chaos of trouble, or something along those lines.
Don't
And
forget the coffee.
oh,
Don't
yeah,
forget.
yeah, yeah. So any of my fellow emos will know the line. And sometimes, just do I want to live the rest of my life in like this milk toast, like beige, fucking farm style house, or do I want a little bit of the 50s where it's eclectic and it's alive? And I think that NFTs just give me that. Uh, I'll date stable coins for the opposite because I don't really want to settle down with somebody who's going to be good for me, but I do occasionally need a point of time in my life where I want a little bit of stability, but then I'll go like, this is really boring, and I have my ADD is far too strong to be with you. You should go be with somebody like, probably like a Jordan, if I had to guess. And not that Jordan's boring, but I just think he would be into that. And what was the other one? Dub probably picked that one, so I'm
Tokens.
killing it just
Tokens.
based off that.
You're crushing, actually. You are crushing. It's tokens. I guess you're dumping tokens at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, Dub probably chose that, and so I'll kill that. Just because they associate with Dub, and I don't want to do that.
Very similar to Sinjin, Jerry, because you can give them crap about this. Is that Sinjin as well as Dub just came for the intros and they left.
And that checks out. I mean, I'm with Sinjin, we can allow it because he's earned the right to do that. With when Dub does it, we just go like, "Who do you think you are?"
Yeah, no,
And then he goes, dub, dub, dub. And we say, that's just your name, man.
yeah, exactly.
Jerry basically he said, I want to marry NFTs not because I want a stable relationship, because I want the kind of relationship that when we announce that a party's coming up, everybody wants to be with us, and then when we announce we're just chilling at home, nobody cares about us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I want to know that you might throw a plate at me when we fight. Like, I don't want to just argue and come to a resolution. I want you to maybe throw a plate at me.
Yeah, there's okay. We can move on from this topic for sure. Dub just came back to the spaces because his ears were ringing, for sure. But we can go on to the next topic. Thank you guys for that. And we can go on. So, Riftbound TCG based on League of Legends IP is confirmed. The question here is over under Riot supporting and producing cards and expansions for the next 5 years. The game is confirmed to be releasing in October 2025. They claim that they're designing this game with multiplayer in mind from the beginning. The booster box will have an MSRP of $120 with 14 cards. The big question is, will they support this game for a long time? So over under Riot supporting and producing cards for Riftbound for 5 years. And are you like purchasing this? Are you doing Knox freaking hand? Shut up so quick. All right, we'll go to Knock and then we'll go to Jerry.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find pre-orders right now. As we're talking, I completely fucking forgot about this, and I'm so excited. Also, the fact that they're making this for multiplayer like Commander and Magic is just absolutely fucking incredible. It's going to be so sick. I think the over is way, way over on 5 years here. Very anecdotal. This is just me fanboying about Riot, but I was there in the very early days of Valorant esports and the Valorant scene. I had meetings with these people behind closed doors. We chatted about what their vision was. They gave us assurances that this was going to be a multi-year plan. And then they executed on everything that they told us. And anytime something changed, they would reach out to those teams, have those conversations. Now, I know that the team that launched Valorant is not going to be the same team that launches this game, but I will die for that fucking company in a world where gaming studios, for the most part, will never say anything to you. If you ask them for help, like I used to do in the very early days of Fortnite, and Donald Mustard basically just told me to go fuck myself, that's the answer that you get most of the time. And when a team will do that, and when they make sure that key stakeholders are in a good spot, to me, that signals a team that really gets it. Add to the fact that this is a decade plus long company, there's a ton of lore. You can literally watch like hour-long videos on the different regions within the League of Legends world and the universe and the stories behind those characters. We saw this happen with a show Arcane that they launched on Netflix a couple of years ago. I just think that there's just so much lore to explore here. To me, this feels like a natural evolution in the Riot Games ecosystem. I hope that they do, some crossover IP with Valorant, like we have seen in Valorant. You can buy the Fish and Bones, which is Jinx's rocket, as a Vandal skin, which is just fucking awesome. There's just so much to tap into. I don't think that this flops. I think that they'll have a real chance at being successful here. Very similar to the fact that like One Piece recently launched, I think less than 24 months ago, and they've had a very successful launch so far. So I'm hoping that this is replicated with the League of Legends Riftbound. Yes, I will buy a ridiculous amount of this shit. I buy so much fucking cards. It's kind of embarrassing, but I will spend the rest of this panel hunting for pre-orders.
Love it, Knox. So I expect nothing from you for the next 45 minutes. So I love that. Yeah, real talk though. We had a pre-show because me, Knock, and Lems need to prepare because I don't do this very often. And literally we took 30 minutes just talking about Arcane and talking about this topic alone. So it was awesome. Jerry, you're up next, and then I think I saw Kevin, then Dub, then Tatted.
Sorry, I just had to slap myself to wake up after Knock just bored me to sleep. Yeah, no, over, but only because it takes these guys so long to do anything that, of course, it's gonna take 5 years for like the first expansion set to come out. Because I mean, they finally did something that was interesting to like anybody that other than like the Kevin Wins of the world, and they made a show that was really good, and then they canceled it. And it took them forever to just come to the resolution of that and then produce the damn thing. So I'm really upset, and I'm not joking when I say this. I'm disappointed in Knock right now because we talk about ingenuity and creativity and wanting people to do new things, and all they do is a card game, which everybody else is doing. Everybody else in the world is doing a card game right now, and we call these guys the leaders in entertainment. Like we look to these guys to offer fun and new things, and they do like once every 5 tries. We call that the Mendoza line in baseball. They hit about 200. When they hit, it's like Joey Bautista when he did the bat flip against the Rangers. They hit when they hit. But other than that, it's what happened to the fighting game? That got shelved. What happened to the show?
No,
That got
it's
shelved.
coming, Jerry. It's coming, dude. Jerry.
It's not coming,
It
dude. That's gonna
also,
get shelved. It's
first of
gonna get
all,
killed. It's gonna get killed. Don't ever shit on the Nintendo Switch to Knock, and then not expect me to shit on what you love, buddy.
so you were listening at least in terms of that. I will say though, this is that Arcane, it wasn't canceled. All right, they're just done with that specific arc. They are making more. Jerry.
Nah, nah, nope.
Okay,
Mark my
see,
words.
now you're getting to the point where you're just
Give me
like
it.
saying no flat out, like full stop, instead of actually like giving useful stuff. Sorry, go ahead, knock. Tag team on Jerry, and then go into Tad.
Okay, Jerry, listen to me for a second here. I can explain something to you that I've explained to my girlfriend when she asks why I don't like musicals. The answer is very simple because musicals pretend that they're real life, and then all of a sudden everybody knows all the fucking words and all the dance moves to every song that exists in the course of that 3 hour long movie. The same is true of Nintendo. They pretend that they're for innovation. Riot Games is built on the backs of a mod, and they have never operated under the illusion that we're going to do anything fucking new ever. Their biggest title is a copy of a game that was spun out of a different game. Their second biggest title is a copy of a different game with a little bit of flavor from a different game. Riot Games, they are the copycats, but they are the ultimate copycats because their version of all the shit they copy is better. This card game's going to bang.
Love it, Jerry. No more for you, Kevin. Then we can go on to. I think it was Kevin. I messed up the order already. So Lems, you can correct me in DMs, but I think Kevin was the first one, and then
It was
Dub, you're
either
now
me or
going last.
Tatted. It was either me or Tatted, so we can go to him afterwards if you want.
No, go for it, Kevin.
Okay, cool. Oh, wait a minute though. Nintendo doesn't innovate, dude. The dual screen. Like, when was the last time they? Okay, so maybe they don't innovate in games, but they innovate in hardware. Which
No, they added grinding to a kart racing game. What do you mean they don't? Don't let them fool you into this take, Kevin.
what?
Kevin, I'm on your team, buddy. Keep going.
Anyway,
I'm gonna agree with everything you
okay.
say.
There's some debate on that one, and also to Jerry's
There's no
point.
debate. Nintendo has been innovating for decades, and they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I am a Nintendo fanboy from the perspective of amazing game experiences that let people appreciate all of the content, occasionally innovative. Anyway, Jerry made a comment about everybody's doing a card game. I totally agree. Card games are dead. Not going to make it. Anybody making one is not going to make it either. Um, but no, on this topic though, it's really interesting because if any of you guys played Legends of Runeterra, their digital game in the League of Legends universe, it was a good game. It was probably the most high production value TCG I've ever played in my life. Like, did you guys see the champion level up cinematics that they made? Those were insane, and they were actually one of the inspirations for our legendary cards in Project O. We don't have the 100K per cinematics budget that they had, but we want some juice, and there were some problems with that game. There were like it was too generous, and in my opinion, Legends of Runeterra was really meant to grow the League of Legends universe. It wasn't like I don't think they were sitting in their boardroom with like a hard line of, hey, this game has to be massively profitable and be able to be run like a business, because I don't think it was designed that way. But they were able to learn a lot of things from that game, and now they're the new game, which is physical. I love seeing physicals making a comeback, by the way, because I love physicals. Knock, we talked about collecting physicals for like half an hour at GDC, and I love, I want to see some of that in digital as well, but they're taking it physical. Physicals are in a great place right now, and I think they're going to be able to apply a lot of the lessons that they learned from Runeterra to that. So I actually have some pretty high. I'm going to take the over as far as how this is going to do, because they're in a hot segment. TCGs are making a comeback, even though they're also all dead, and it's the Riot team, so the lore is huge. Whenever they try to grow the League of Legends universe with a property, it has done very well. Nod Arcane, which was incredible, and so this has the opportunity to do that. It could flop, like remember when Blizzard made the World of Warcraft miniatures game, and everybody's like, "Oh, World of Warcraft minis," and it just kind of didn't take. That could happen here. These are teams with similar resources and great product sense, but given that they made a digital TCG that did pretty good for a while and they learned a lot of things from it, I'm very bullish on this, and I'm also gonna scarf some up. So, knock, if you find pre-orders, let me know.
Yeah, 100%. Pass that link around, except to Jerry, Tatted, and then Dub, then Wills.
Yeah, first I just want to start out and say, show me a console or a game console hardware creator who has innovated in a way that you can now play wheelchair basketball video games that actually make sense, because the dual controller mouse on the Nintendo Switch 2 is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and I cannot wait to play this wheelchair basketball game that they featured on launch day. I think it looks so much fun, and it literally makes me feel like I'm a little kid waiting for a game to come out again. So all of you naysayers saying Nintendo doesn't innovate, y'all are crazy. Second, though, to answer the question here, I think that this trading card game for League of Legends is going to be huge. I feel like if you've never played League of Legends, you don't understand the obsession that the player base has with this game, to the point where there's people that play for 12 straight hours a day, every day. I had people in my law school long time ago almost fail finals because they were not studying and they were playing the League of Legends. I think this is one of the most obsessive games to ever actually come out or be created. And if you look at Arcane, Arcane was a net negative for the company. It was a financial disaster. They spent like $250 million making it. They only recouped half of that, but it was one of the best marketing tools in the world for the game. And that's really what they're doing. So if we're looking kind of like at innovative marketing things, I think they're looking at this both as a way to really reach new players who kind of find themselves more in the trading card world, but also bring them into this super, super, super obsessive game. So I think they're going to pump money into this. I think it's going to be something they pump money into for maybe even the next decade. This could become the next Pokemon, in my opinion, in terms of how big it has to grow as a trading card game. So I am so bullish for this. I'm going to smash that over button as many times as I can. I would bet the farm on this being one of their mainstays for at least the next decade.
Let's go. All right. We have a lot of hands, so we're gonna finish out with these hands, and then we'll move on to a quick hitter, and we'll wrap up with the MVP. Jerry. Oh wait, you moved. Kevin.
I
There's a-
I just want to piggyback on something Michael just said. You know, look through this lens. How collectible do you think merch for the characters in that world is today versus what it was 10 years ago versus what it was, as the chronology has moved forward? How collectible do you think merch will be after this game? Like, it's only like Arcane only makes me want plushies of these characters more, collectible cards of these characters more. So like everything is moving into they're doing such a great job making emotional connection to the League of Legends universe. I don't even play League of Legends, right? Like I don't play that game. I've watched it on stream, but I don't play it, and I want to own the characters and merch from it now. And the more products they bring out, like a TCG, like a great television show, they keep doing that. So like props, they're what other studio is going about something in the same way? It's tough.
Good points. Good points. Dub, you're finally unleashed.
You sure you want to let me talk? You kick me off the stage, and then
I
you
kicked you off
say
the
I
stage.
left the
Okay, wait.
stage.
Hey, there's
Like,
other co-hosts here, and we're about to throw them under the bus and then back it up. There's Knock and also Lems. All right.
and then you let Jerry just do whatever the hell he wants and just lowers the whole show in general. It's just unbelievable.
Low key, I
But
think just left after your intro. Not gonna lie.
you know, it's fine. Whatever. We all just are lesser people because of it. Thanks a lot, Jerry. On top of everyone else's points, well, why this is going to cook and why it's going to do so well is that the retail sector they're in for physical cards has just been accelerating and booming, and was like, first of all, unfazed by COVID, and then accelerated more and is now like still succeeding. And it's like built for a new incumbent to enter and be present. Like every time I go back home, I go to my fucking local Walmart just to be like, oh, what kind of cool stuff's there? And I'm buying stupid Cabbage Patch Kids and stuff like that. So like there is just it's an open field for like a new incumbent to come and own and do well in, and it feels like everything's primed for it. So really looking forward to seeing these guys knock it off the park and retail specifically for all this stuff.
That's amazing. It's so funny whenever you were doing it, Knock was like completely agreeing with you for like Walmart and everything like that, hitting the 100 specific stuff. And then you said Cabbage Patch Kids, and then he stopped emoting. He didn't want to get caught up in there, but it definitely was. That was also like me, where I felt like an asshole whenever I was downvoting something that Tad had said, and then he said something about the wheelchair, and then I had my downvote on while he said it, and I just felt like a complete asshole, even though I didn't mean it. All right, I have lost track by a large margin of who's going up next. So I'm going to go with Jerry.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Peyton hates accessibility. But
Sam hates
yeah, man.
accessibility because I'm using his account.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Throw Sam under the bus. Listen, Michael brought up a great point in the show. Was ultimately like, listen, I hate League of Legends because I'm a Dota player and I'm from the '90s, so I hold grudges. But I really liked Arcane, the show, right? And I loved the show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But it was a loss. It was a huge loss for Riot financially. So it is them doing things like this going to grow the IP? I don't know. I'm not saying yes, but I'm not saying no. I'm saying I don't know, and I think the show is telling us that it lost a shitload of money. So it is expanding into new game genres and diluting the IP and doing a fighting game that's going to be mid and uh, a TCG. Like I just don't know. But I have to ask the question: if some of their expanses beyond League of Legends haven't been revenue generating for them or revenue positive, are the other things? Yeah, I don't know.
Love it, Jerry. Jordan, you're going up next.
Oh, I put my hand up when I was just gonna come in and keep piling on these Nintendo's not innovative dummies. The same exact people who love to go, Apple isn't innovative. They've been making the same product for forever. It's like, yeah, you invent a fucking product category and then you spend a long time refining it. How dare you, right? How many times, like, Nintendo was on the brink of bankruptcy and then they made the Wii. They would be gone now. And their move was the Wii, and it killed. They went the completely different direction from the rest of the industry. What console? The other console creators are just making. Nintendo is the only one that does something that isn't a computer in a box and continues to do something that isn't a computer in the box. And that's why Nintendo isn't competing with the console industry. They are in their own industry. They're doing Nintendo's things. They're going to keep doing it. And, you don't even have to recognize their game because they're going to keep printing money.
Jordan, I really admire you and I love you dearly, but you're being logical with illogical people. And I had to really reason with myself last week, and I had to have a talk with myself, and it's that these people aren't serious.
Jerry, I really appreciate it. You're right. And now I'm going to be able to sleep tonight because you've recentered me. So thank you.
Gosh, jeez. Please stop. All right. Who else had their hands up? Tatted, you're up next, brother.
The only thing I want to say to Jerry's point before was most animated shows that launch lose money. None of them really make money because it's so expensive to make an animated show. Oftentimes, the animated show, and the reason that you see animes only have like one season, the 12-episode season, it's literally just to drive their printed sales because it's way cheaper to make a manga or a comic or a book or a light novel or merchandise than it is to make an animated TV series. So I just wanted to preface this is I don't think League of Legends ever expected to make money off of that show. I think it was just a wonderful marketing move that they knew they could burn the money because it was going to onboard a ton of people into the IP, and that's exactly what it did. So just wanted to add that caveat, and just want to say to my fellow Nintendo brethren, I love just being surrounded by other smartest people in the room. Someday everybody else will catch up.
Gosh, geez, man. The circle jerk that is happening on this freaking panel is ridiculous. Knock, please save me as the co-host here. So we're gonna move on before this gets a little bit too messy here. But building in public, bullish or bullshit, it is the head topic, and we almost didn't get to it, but good thing that we wrapped there. But building in public has been a big narrative in Web3, but it's actually but is it actually good for the space? After seeing things play out for the last few years, there's often pretty mixed opinions on this topic. Some people that do it well, some people that don't. Most people in Web3 say that they want to see the development process, but they don't really understand or appreciate how long things take and how buggy early builds can be. And saw this message in the Wolves and Friends Telegram chat, which seems to be reinforce this point, which is, end quote, the problem with building in public is the scope creep, trying to fluff things up for an audience with no concept of production flow, unquote. Is building in public bullish or bullshit? And there was a lot of things while I was looking down at my laptop. I'm going to give it over to Knock first, and then you can pass it on to who you saw put up the hand next.
Yeah, bullish. For a bunch of reasons. I think most of the reasons why people would argue that it's bearish is one of twofold, or one of two reasons. One, you don't have the resources to maintain the building in public, like cost that actually comes with it from like a marketing perspective, a community management perspective. It is a massive undertaking, and I think too many teams jump into it with less than no plan and are shocked when things go belly up. So I think it's a really difficult thing to do. Um, Even if you have a plan, it's insanely difficult to execute upon for a number of reasons, most of which have to do with the fact that your average consumer has no idea how a game is built. In the traditional Web 2 world, game development operates something like this. 9 years ago, RuneScape announces Dragon Wilds disappears for 9 years. Last year, people get it in an early alpha test, disappeared for 6 months. And now people are like, holy fuck, this looks incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on it in a couple of months. But there's a 10-year window where that game was being built behind closed doors that people just don't see or forgot about, that the fact that this game was announced as far in advance as it was. When you're building in Web3, a lot of the times you come here first because funding historically has been significantly easier to acquire than it was in traditional markets. But when you come here, you're expected to deliver content, and that content, for most people, they believe that that's the game. The content here is equal parts game and equal parts founder marketing and product marketing and the promise of something large. And for a lot of teams, I think that that gets overwhelming. A lot of teams go belly up when you tie yourself too closely to somebody. Something that they do creates a whole bunch of downstream effects on the quality of that product, whether or not you take it to market. We saw this happen with Dead Drop and Dr. Disrespect. We saw this happen to some degree with the team over at Exterio. When you tie yourself to a particular brand, or you put all your eggs in the basket of one or two particular characters within that business, you're sort of beholden to their behavior and their actions. And I think that that's a massive risk. But that being said, for every team that goes belly up, there are teams like the teams that are led by people like Michael and Kevin and Paul Bettner and Jordan and so many other people within this business that have a lot more afforded to them than a traditional game studio would. You look at somebody like Fableborn, right? This was the team who go to market in an era where not selling out your NFT collection is the death sentence, and they don't sell out, right? That collection gets paused halfway through that mint, and then they shift focus on the game two or three or four different times. And these are all things that we're told very often is the sort of thing that you want to keep behind closed doors. You don't want to tell people about. You don't want to see that in public. And they've managed to turn it into an incredible amount of content on the story building of that business, of that brand, of the team. And we know about Cam and Maria and Tyler because of the things that went on there. So the benefits here are massive. I think it can be a risk. There are plenty of teams who maybe come to market a little bit later in their development cycle. And I think Kevin and the Project O team are one of those teams. We were speaking a year plus in advance before they went online. And I think that that's a perfectly valid approach, but they're leading that founder led marketing head on as well. Kevin's here, right? We know the team, we know Tim, we know the people who are building this product. And I think that in Web3, a space and an ecosystem that is built around community, it's incredibly difficult to build a community if you don't have some sort of beacon or rallying point. And a lot of the times that's the founder. So for me, super bullish. It is a ridiculously difficult thing to undertake. It is probably equally as hard as building a game, maintaining a fucking community with a financialized asset for the course of 3 or 4 years. Ridiculously difficult. I don't wish it on my worst enemy, but the founders who do it will be better for it. And those products are the ones that we typically see as the leaders in this space. So bullish.
Nice comments there, Knock. And you also bring up a good point. So much like what Kevin says, like Kevin's been public for a long time, though, right? And he might not be public about his game, but he has been public about just who he is and what his beliefs are in Web3. And I think that goes a long way. I would say the same thing for Maria. Maria was in Wolves Discord for about 2.5 years before she like really took to like Twitter. And a lot of that talks and conversations were just kind of like building up reciprocity in a lot of sense. So whenever Maria said like, "Hey guys, I'm like part of the Fable War team, we have an announcement." Like we wanted to help them at that point too. So very, very good guy. John next because he hasn't had a while to talk because Jerry just yapping.
Hey, thanks. One of my central theses of game development is that you have to have a lot of velocity and that along the checkpoints along the way with that high velocity, you have to be able to take input that improves your product. And once you've launched your product, the input is going to be in the form of actual KPIs and data about how people are playing. It'll be largely evidence driven, although you'll continue to listen to the community and hear their ideas. And your game designers will have a lot of great ideas, but it's very, very evidence driven. In the early days of game development, you don't have as much KPIs and data to go by. You really only have the insights of the people that you're showing the game to. So the art of this is figuring out who gets to see it along the way and how many of them are going to be able to see it along the way. You can build in public and let everybody see it. I'm very bullish on that because I think if you're a startup, you need as much input as you can. Now, deciding which of that input you are going to listen to is highly dependent on what kind of audience you want to have. So if you're listening to every speculator who comes along because all that they care about is flipping your NFT or your token someday, then you're building a game just for them, in which case they're going to extract all the liquidity right out of that thing as fast as they can. If you're building it for gamers who are going to play the game, that's completely different, and you got to get to know these people and see that they're actually playing it and going by their actual feedback. But yes, if you can move quickly through your development process and have a very evidence-based development process where you're able to synthesize that input, use it for product improvement, and really build a game that people are going to be passionate about and love for the actual players of that game, then that's fantastic. That said, not easy to do. And the ingredients to this are, number one, you have to have a development process which actually has a lot of velocity in it. Because if you don't have velocity, you're not going to actually be able to use any set of information that comes from the inside or the outside, right? So even your own inside people are going to be frustrated all the time that you can never seem to get anything done on the game. But if you have the velocity solved, which, by the way, that's why Beamable's in business. We are in business to help you not have to worry about the whole back end bullshit that you normally have to deal with to build an online game, which all Web3 games are inherently online games. It's why you choose a good 3D engine that lets you move through the development process quickly. It's why you get really talented developers who know what the fuck they're doing. Like, these are the things that go towards your velocity. Now, if you've solved that, which is the number one issue to solve, and you can add to it really effective community management where people can engage with the people who are playing the game, listen to the input, but also listen to it and apply a lens to it so that you actually understand who this audience is. Are they the audience that you're trying to capture? Are they the audience that you're trying to delight? Well, then you actually have a really super powerful resource that's going to get you to a game that's far better than what you would build entirely on your own. So I'm bullish on it, but solve velocity first and then take the community management of that very, very seriously. Otherwise, it can backfire.
Great points, John. I think the next order was Tatted and then Kevin. So we'll go Tatted next and then Kevin, and then we will finish out the hands and then go to MVP.
Love it, love it, love it. So I have to absolutely say bullish, but bullish with some caveats. So, for example, I can only really speak to my own experience because we did develop in the open. We did not start doing live developer AMAs with the community until we had a product that was like right before MVP level. So we could show them the maps, we could show them the movements, how this works, how that works, and kind of get feedback in terms of what kind of features do you like? Do you guys like these special effects? Do you like this art style? And what that allowed us to do was not only connect on a way deeper level with our community because now they felt really, really involved. And people are visual people. If we're just talking about, oh, we're gonna do this next or do that next, people's eyes are gonna glaze over. But the fact that we could actually show them this is what we're working on, this is how far we've come, these are the current timelines. Obviously, timelines can change. What it did was we got so many beautiful suggestions from the community on like a very regular basis because we would have these live developer AMAs twice a month. And then B, it really, really, I believe, connected the community to the game itself. Where now we have such like a ravenous player base because they literally saw what the game started out as and then they see where the game like currently is in its current iteration, and they're amazed essentially about how we've done it and what we've done. And then when you actually include one of their suggestions in their game, it gives them this feeling of, I'm a part of this, because where else are you going to be able to make a suggestion to a video game where you actually see them integrate your suggestion? Like there's no other place in the world unless you're actually working for one of these teams. So it was really, really cool to see. I really think it helped us connect even more with the community, especially during the bear cycle and the down days. The people that stayed are now some of our most loyal community members who play the crap out of our game. And when I say play the crap, like there's people in our Discord that were like, yeah, we play for 8 hours a day or 9 hours a day, which to me is insane for a mobile game. But I couldn't be more bullish on building in the open. However, if you start building in the open too early, you risk you risk essentially losing everybody, because nobody cares about backends. No one cares about the foundational tech. They want the flashy stuff. They want to be able to see it. If they can't see it, they're not going to care about it. So I think it's building in the open, super bullish, just with that caveat that you have to be far along enough in your development to then show the community what you actually are building.
Good points all around. Kevin, Project O.
Man, I'm smashing the green button so hard on this one because I'm gonna like this is something that I actually think Web 2 needs, which is going to be crazy. But let me take you on a little journey. 12, flashback 12 years ago. I'm still deep in Web 2, making games at Microsoft for the Casual Game Studio, Games for Grandma, and we had this idea to create this program called the Microsoft Casual Games Inner Circle. And, just like, hey, everybody, do you want to know what we're working on? Do you want to see early builds? Do you want to give input into, let's try this little transparent development thing, a little slice of transparent development. And it was a huge hit. We let people pick what game we're going to work on next. We showed them early builds. And we weren't like, build in public does not mean, every single build is uploaded to the server and the community knows about it, right? Like you get to decide how frequent the touch points are, right? And in Web 2, they were like abysmal compared to what we see in Web 3 in this camp, but it was still amazing. And man, it was amazing from the perspective of the community who could finally see what their the progress of their favorite game, and maybe even if they wanted to get involved, feel like they had a way to do that. And it was also amazing from the perspective of the developers, because as a Web 2 game developer, you can't tell people what you're working on. Like there are NDAs and deals that could fall through and all kinds of things that could happen. So you just aren't allowed to talk about it. And you talk to any Web 2 game developer, they're like, dude, I would love to tell people what I'm working on. You just can't. So in a world where you're able to share that with people, it's so good from both sides. And when I got a little taste of that 12 years ago at Microsoft, I'm just like, I need more of this. And when I saw like Web3 was an opportunity where it was sort of like just an expectation, a natural fit. Like, yes, you build with the community. That's kind of what you do here. I'm just like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going back. Or if I do, it's like I'm taking build in public with me, because I think Web 2 needs it. And I think, another element of it is the transparency that you get when you build in public allows you to set expectations. And that's one of the biggest mismatches and problem statements in Web3, right? Why do NFTs go to 85 ETH and then come down like a wizard's hat on a chart pattern? It's because of poor expectation setting. Nobody said anything, and people are speculating that all this stuff's going to happen or whatever. The team has the opportunity to set expectations where they want them. They could set them low and then over deliver. They could set them high and under deliver, or just right. You have all of that in your control when you're building in public. So man, I love this so much, and I'm so happy to be doing it. And if you look at the way Project O has been doing it, we're light. We're not every single build in public, although we've had a few play tests lately, and we'll probably be ramping that up. And to Michael's point, you do have to have things to show, or at least to say, but there's usually opportunities for that. Even if it is, we're just working on our back end. It's just like, hey, do you guys agree that we should do it this way? Here's what we're thinking, and they have a chance to weigh in. Like that's going to be interesting to some people while everyone else sleeps. So I don't know. I couldn't be more bullish about this. I think it's the future of all gaming, and I hope that after we show the world how it's done in Web3, that we're going to see it in Web2 soon.
Thanks, Kevin. Totally agree with everything, and also just kudos to you as well. Like I said before, whenever Doc made his point, you've been somebody that's like ever present within the space and just being around and putting out your philosophy and stuff. And then also just really that goodwill towards you transfers right to Project O, and we love it. Next up is going to be Jerry. Then we'll end with Jordan, and then we will wrap up and do MVP.
Yeah, sorry, just to building in public, is it bullish or bullshit? Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, not to be contrarian, but I think it's kind of bullshit. And I think these guys have a little bit of recency bias, and I'll expand on that. But I think for what we saw historically, right, was a lot of teams who didn't know much about how to build games or didn't know the endeavor that they were taking on, build in public, and that's a really bad thing and a really dangerous thing. And I think where a lot of resentment in the NFT and like Web3 space comes from is that these people were building in public and never knew what the fuck they were doing in the first place and didn't have the funds to do it. And like realistically, this is a totally like made up number, but what does building in public actually cost you? And it's probably like $1 million a year between like salaries for people, between content to put out, between tooling and everything. So what do you need to build in public? You need to be kind of well funded. You need to have enough money to be able to sustain that for a couple of years, and you need to have a north star that you are driving towards. And I think all the people that are saying, Michael said it best, is it's bullish when you get to the point where you know what you're building. But as like Kevin can say and Michael can say, because these guys have been on the insides of game development, is you don't always know, right? And we always use this term like finding the fun. What we did in Web3 was we hadn't found the fun yet, but we were building in public. Now, what have guys like Michael and Kevin and Paul done? They found the fun and then they built in public, right? So Kevin has been a public person for a long time, but the details of Project O were not public for a long time. So was he really building in public, or and I'm just using Kevin as an example because I think he's a great example and Project O is a great example. So Kevin, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but I'm picking on you in a nice way. It's like they weren't really building in public until they were, and then now they are building in public. But when Kevin was ideating and Kevin and I were having calls, 2 years ago, Kevin wasn't building in public. Kevin was a public person building something, and then he found the fun, and then he started to build that thing in public. And there's a big difference. And then they built the team out to support that. Right now, they're spending the money to sustain that team and put out the content and everything. So I think for most teams, it's actually kind of bullshit, and people do it way too early. Now, when you have found it and you have your north star, it then becomes a very bullish thing. But if you aren't there, it's such a negative and a waste of resources for you. So it's bullish at the right time. Most people don't do it at the right time, and that's actually one of the reasons why they're failing, I think. It's because they're deciding to build in public when they're not ready for it. And then we call them failures for it instead of them doing it the right way, which is find the North Star and then drive.
I just want to kick in because Jerry mentioned me. Actually totally agree with everything he just said. That you do have to have an idea of the project because nobody wants you to figure it out in public. Like that's different than building in public, and it also hurts confidence, right? So yeah, 100% agreed, and that is what we did. Like we were in public, but we're building in public after we had our North Star. Totally.
Yeah, I
That's
think
a really good line for Bart.
we're actually way more in agreement than we are in disagreement, although you're less bullish on it. So I'll give the exact example from my own experience. So I built a game called Star Trek Timelines, and we worked on 5 different versions of the game. We knew we were making a Star Trek game, and we and we knew that we wanted it to be true to Star Trek. That was sort of how we got started on it. And we tried several different versions of the game. Actually, the first one we created was kind of a CCG, and we hated the game, so we didn't make that one. And then we tried two game ideas, 2, 3, and 4, and they were also just not good enough for various reasons. We didn't build those in public because we still didn't have the idea that the game was going to be. But once we had the fifth idea, we realized we were really onto something, and we started showing it more and more and more, up to the point where we showed up at Penny Arcade Expo, PAX, and we had 1,000 people come and just try the game and give us feedback on it. And we shipped another build of the game the second day of PAX based on how people actually played and engaged with it the first day. So building in public at the right point in time, once we knew what we were actually executing against, became super valuable for us. So, building in public doesn't mean you show literally everything in public, including the earliest unformed ideas. Like, people aren't gonna, I mean, you could imagine, like, you could put a camera on and watch you 24 hours a day, and including changing your clothes. Like, that would be totally public, but it would be too much public, right? Too much TMI. And there's a lot of sausage making in games, to use a really terrible and awkward analogy after that last example. But you gotta decide what you're going to publicize and share with the public. But it is totally worth doing at the point where you're able to demonstrate progress and velocity and react to what those inputs are.
100% agreed on all accounts. I think Wills, you had your hand up before you left, and you came back. Then we'll go to Jordan, and then Limps.
Yeah, my phone died, so we were able to get recharged and back into space in sub a few minutes. I'm pretty impressed with myself. But I'm not a founder, so I'm going to talk more from the consumer perspective, because one of the real benefits I've always seen to Web3 has been the potential for really building that strong pre-launch audience, and NFTs and that culture, allowing users to get more out of that experience of being a part of the game and being a part of its development. I 100% agree with everything that's been said about not figuring out what you're meant to do in public, which is where I think a lot of this has gone, and what we've seen a lot more of than probably people would like. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing to it. I definitely think there is still something to be said for the go into a cave and come out with a piece of art, and I think that for a lot of kinds of projects is helpful. But we're in Web3, and the kinds of games that Web3 produces are multiplayer and are like most of the time looking to be these massive multiplayer experiences. And those are the kinds of things that you need to seriously stress test and test with people who you trust. And I think that building in public and building and creating a really tight core community and offering people who care about your game a lot a way to be a part of it, and to not monetize that, but use that to your advantage, bringing them in, engaging with them in the correct ways, but also ensuring that you stay true to your vision. So I think that opening the floodgates to the masses can definitely be a detriment to your game, as we've seen. But I think that there is something to be said for bringing in a curated group, and that can be a huge benefit once it comes time to launch. If you have that kind of core team of users who's behind you and ready to champion your game and the decisions you've made. Like, I've been chatting with a game for a while now, who have a very, very strong Web2 presence and Web2 team, and they have spent a lot of time working with their core community. I wouldn't say they're building in public, but they've worked with their core community and created these specific community members who they've educated. They've sat down with and talked about Web3 and been like, this is all the ways that Web3 is going to factor into our game, and what do you think of that? And as a result, they now have 500, 600 ambassadors for their implementation of Web3 that will go out and defend them in the YouTube comments, in the forums, in the games, in Discord, about the decisions that they're making. And that's where I think it can be most powerful, when it's used tactically and effectively.
Love it, love it. I'm gonna give like 30 seconds to Jordan and Dub to finish this topic up, and then we're gonna go to MVPs, speed round MVPs, and then we'll wrap it up with the sponsors. So Jordan, 30
Okay,
seconds on the clock.
quick version of what I was going to say. Building in public is a decision that you make for a reason, right? People love just like doing things because they do it, right? Why did every game earlier in the cycle, way early in the cycle, there's like, oh, it's 1,000 NFT collection, now it's a 10,000 NFT collection, now it's a 3,000 NFT collection. Like, put the number of NFTs your game needs for the thing that they're doing, right? Building in public is the exact same thing. It's super powerful if you have a reason that you're doing it. The number one reason, well, we need to make money from our community in order to help build this game, right? I just want to, if I'm going to say one thing, I'm going to throw out the number one most successful, most profitable example of building in public in history is a game called Star Citizen, right? Star Citizen is a Web 2 game that they have spent, what, 8 years building? They have made $800 or $900 million doing it, and the game isn't out yet. And none of those assets are NFTs. Their community is frustrated, but still with them, right? If you're going to build in public, it's not about how long it's going to take. It's not about how long it's, the full game. You need to build it in a way that it's designed to give feedback and activities and rewards to whatever public you've engaged as you go. And I think basically any game design can be reworked, like game build plan can be reworked and planned on purpose to have frequent, often low milestones of things people can touch and play with and make it feel like progress is going on while still building their entire gigantic game. And so if you're going to do it, have the reason and have the plan of how you're going to keep people engaged no matter how long it'll take.
Thank you, Jordan. And also thank you for adhering to the 30 seconds. W
Did I?
go.
Jesus Christ, I don't know what that was. That was not me. The way you speed this up at the end too, by the way, pro tip is you ask the people to give their MVP at the end of their rants. But Jerry would like actually really nailed this. You're welcome.
You've been
I
granted
hate
an extra 30 seconds.
I hate glossing Jerry, dude. And he gets my MVP because of this. Let's just fucking put a bow on that and never talk about this moment again. But the thing I wanted to add on was, first of all, Eve Frontier is the one to look at and watch and take note from. They are doing this way better than anyone else. Web 2 to Web 3 transition of a pretty core title, all that yabber yabber. Props to them. But as well on the consumer side, I wanted to paint a metaphor that's been stuck in my head this whole time is that like we've building in public, a core part of that is the roadmap, and that's what the consumers like digest a lot. And ultimately that roadmap for your consumers should feel like like they're playing Monopoly, not Shoots and Ladders. And that's how it's been a lot over the past 2 years, with changing goalposts, roadmaps getting destroyed, like whatever, it's like the teams need to do a better job at this core foundational block and make a more consistent executable roadmap that they can allow their users to go on a more pleasant journey with them on, rather than getting caught going down a slide every time they roll a fucking 4 or something like that. So yeah.
I haven't been playing Shoots and Ladders for a while, but thank you for the 4. Lems, you want to finish this up? And then Dub, you said that Jerry is your MVP.
Yeah, so you can, I guess, go to him after Lens, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, Lems.
All right, I'll also glaze Jerry and like a Krispy Kreme because he's self-conscious. So yeah, great take, Jerry. Because I think it is both bullish and bullshit. It's bullshit if you start at day one. No one really wants to be a part of that. Like I'll say, kind of like what Will was saying from a consumer perspective. Like I've learned a ton about game development over the last 4 years just being in this space and watching some of the builds. So that's like been a really interesting experience. But yeah, most games like people don't want to watch the building from day one. I think after seeing everything we've seen over the last few years, it feels like to me you want to be at like, somewhere between like 50 and 80% or something of your game before you like start to really show it and get people involved. But people being involved early, they grow attached to it, and you can also get like good quality play test feedback and get a core group of like private testers as well that will help as you're iterating on the game. Like Knock mentioned Fableborn earlier. When I met Maria and Cam at GDC last year, they said, hey, you know the reason it's actually been a few months since we put a build out? It's because we're overhauling everything. They didn't do that in public. They wanted to surprise people on the new playtest to say like, hey, there's new things. And there was a bit of pushback. Some people were like, oh, what is with this? It's a bit different. But now, like, they're killing it, and it's been very successful. Like Kevin, not to put you on the spot, but like Tim shared like a story at GDC again of like how you guys iterated and killed some stuff, and if you were showing that process the whole way, you probably would have got some FUD and like disgruntled people in the community being like, "Why did you kill all this progress you've made so far?" But you guys knew what was right to do. You were also like, as everyone said here, a very public-facing figure. So it's like you can be a public presence as you're building, but you really need to be at a point where you're ready to start sharing, that you're not going to have all this pushback come against you if you decide to change some things. And because the unfortunate reality is people say they want to see everything, but they don't understand the process, and then they get butthurt when you're iterating and doing what you actually need to do to build a goddamn good game. And yes, I'm going to shout out Kate for her awesome article in the first half. She dropped a bunch of really good info. That's sort of my honorary MVP, but my vote actually goes to Jerry for that banger take here on this public building and public stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I guess they could split because Kate was here for the first half and Jerry was split for the second half. Also, yeah, I also think that last bar from Kevin was really good. I'm gonna steal it, Kevin. The figuring out in public is not what people want for sure. Jerry, who's your MVP?
I will say that I will give it back to Dub because I think the analogy is really good of people want to be playing Monopoly and not playing Shoots and Ladders. I think that if actually like, and I'm not kidding when I say I think that's a great analogy and a great way to look at how you should be approaching your community. You know, that you don't. I think people want to all win, together and not feel like these huge drops. I mean, yeah, we just don't do that in Web3. It's PvP to its core, and like I don't know that that's necessarily the best thing. So actually, yeah, total credit for the hour I was here. I think Dub dropped some bars, but everybody was really good this week, and I think you get some love too, Peyton.
Oh, thank you. It's actually just Sam with a really good Peyton impression. Impression. All right, Wills, I'll go with you next, buddy.
Yeah, I'm probably going to split my MVP in half. You pick whichever one needs the vote. I'd say first half MVP is going to be Knock. I thought that those were some great chats, some really good discussion, and then Jerry just came in here and wouldn't shut up for an hour, and it's hard to take the MVP away from him when he does that. So good
Yeah,
stuff.
he's a stat patter. You know what I mean? He's a Westbrook. He's a Westbrook.
Triple doubles every day, baby.
If I occupy the whole hour, nobody else could be voted for. It's a good strategy, Jerry. Jordan, who's your MVP, brother? You got 30 seconds.
Jerry.
Nice. Love it. And then Kevin, who's your MVP, brother?
I'm going to give it to Jerry also. That was a really good counterpoint to the building in public is, bullish, bullish, bullish. It was a good moderation point for that, which I totally agreed with.
Great. Tatted, last but not least.
I'm actually going to give it to Nintendo for their consistent innovations that move the space forward at every single turn. No, I really do think
This
it's.
guy just out here glazing Nintendo since he got his publisher deal. Jeez, he won't shut up about it.
But I will say, I mean, not everybody likes wheelchair basketball. I'm one of the people that do. Sorry if you're not, Sam and Lems. But no, I'm going to give my MVP as well to Jerry. I think the minute he got on the call, he started crushing it. I know he looks really good in a striped shirt, as does Chuck and some other people. So I'm going to give it to Jerry today as well. The striped shirt mafia.
Love it.
I'll also,
Jerry, well, that means that you are the MVP, brother. Thank you for coming in with the energy as well. But you got 60 seconds on the clock, brother. What you got?
Yeah, I don't know. I never prepped for these moments. I want to say you have 89 days to launch a token, and then it's all over for everybody. And I've been kind of on this high horse and soapbox recently, but I really think that there's still like money to be made and to be raised for Web3 projects. I think you guys need to find your like MVPs and find your KPIs that people want to invest in. I think there's a lot of people who are really negative right now and really bearish, and I just don't feel that way. Like I feel more optimistic about this industry than I have in a long time. I think teams just need to start figuring out what are their fundable like KPIs they can realistically build to, and then go do those things. And then like I promise there's money out there for you. So just keep hope high, I guess. And Peyton, use the rest of the time to talk about Wolf or something.
Thanks, Boo. I love you. Wolf. Actually, I have to talk about the sponsors because we're already 9 minutes over. So I wasn't very good at pacing when it comes down to it. So we are going to be wrapping up the show. And thank you guys for all making it super easy for my job to be able to just kind of like delegate responsibility to all of you smart brains, wrinkly brains, as me being smooth. All right, Avalanche, the official chain of Gamified, is more than just a blockchain. It's a winter wonderland of innovation with $100 million AI fund and partnerships with gaming giants like Gunzilla Games, T1 Esports, and Solo Leveling. Avalanche is breaking the ice and setting the standard for the future of Web3 gaming. So whatever your seasoned pro or curious newbie, some explore the avalanche of possibilities and discover a world where the snow never melts and the fun never stops. Calling all cosmic crusaders and space-faring scoundrels, Star Atlas is about to ignite the gaming galaxy with its pulse-pounding space races where velocity and valor are your keys to victory. Master maneuvers of magnificent spaceships, mine marvelous minerals, and build an empire that spans the stars. Join the Discord, get a key, and play the preseason to prepare for a year of stellar surprises in 2025. And get ready to rumble with the gaming gatekeepers of who are flipping the script and giving the power back to the players. They're the ones who are turning the metaverse into a melting pot of ideas, a crucible of creativity, and a breeding ground for innovation. They're the ones empowering players to take control of their digital destinies, to building their own societies, and to shape the future of gaming. So grab your gamepads and get ready to conquer the next era of gaming with Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. So a big shout out to the sponsors making Gamified all possible, as well as a shout out to the speakers for making my job easier. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Sam will be returning. It will not be a Peyton impression right behind him. So love you guys.